Hey, good morning. This is vlog number 5. I think today I'm mainly gonna talk about artificiality in art or artifice, or specifically what I've had on my mind is the band Slipknot. They're probably my second favorite band after Nirvana on just a how many albums of theirs I like level. I know they're not a band that is held in very high esteem critically or by hipsters, but I've always thought of them as like the Kiss of their generation. Everyone hates them, but they're an influence on literally like everyone. It's almost most genres, except for you could even say the shocking stuff of Lady Gaga wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for the Slipknot. So, it's possible to put that frame on it, but yeah, a lot of what it is like the abstract horror of life. Doing something where it's like doing something where you are reducing yourself to a compulsion, then allowing that compulsion to become like a machine is what I think sums up the aesthetic of Slipknot. They literally, the reason they wear the mask is not to unleash the beast. It's probably just a good marketing. But on an aesthetic level, there was this kid or young man or something named Novocaine Rascal on YouTube. And he wears paper mache masks and does these improvised noise jams that have a wonderful aesthetic. I really enjoy his overall vibe he can create with the moment. They're in no way really compositions. They're just literally someone just hanging out with the mask on, jamming on the guitar. But that's what I like about them. So, but Slipknot is more a machine attack. It's like a car engine of music with horror film and pornography imagery, and it captures something about the dark side of what art is by the sheer artificiality of it. But that doesn't mean they're not being sincere. I've always disagreed with people who says it's just like synchronized headbanging, hitting a garbage or hitting a beer keg with an aluminum baseball bat. There's a real visceral emotional depth to what they do. It's fairly original. It has nothing to do with like singer-songwriter Bob Dylan stuff for the most part. And it has nothing to do with the traditional idea of what sincerity was in popular culture. It has very little to do with good taste. And that's what I love about it. The horror film imagery, pornography aesthetic is a huge thing I brought to the Mason Andrew Freak rock albums, like the last 4 albums in particular. And I find that everyone who listens to them will almost always tell me, like, yeah, this sounds like Nirvana. Or, you're obviously a fan of Kurt Cobain, but they never bring up the Slipknot thing, which is just about as big an influence. I think I got into them when I was like 12 or 13 in the early 2000s. When my sister got an iPod and one of her friends put 2 Slipknot songs on it. It was one Slipknot song. It was, what was that song called? I felt the hate rise up in me, and you're down to clear the sun leaves. Whatever. Wait and Bleed. It was Wait and Bleed. And I literally was like, oh man, they got two singers. And they didn't. They had one singer who was just really ridiculously good. And then I saw Resident Evil, and it had the Iowa track, My Plague, on it. And I was obsessed since that point, really. My favorite record of theirs is All Hope Is Gone, which I know the band doesn't like. Don't care. It's the best record. The debute's probably my second favorite. I was my least favorite. Not because it's bad by any means. I think every one of the first four was a masterpiece. And I think, honestly, every album they've done has been a success on some level, which is a rare thing. Specifically, The Gray Chapter is probably my second least favorite. But it's not because it's bad by any means, it's just the rest of them are such high class bangers. The negative ones off the Gray Chapters, I think, and that's one of my favorite Slipknot songs. So, I mean, I'm not discrediting that there are brilliant tracks on every album. But a fundamental thing with it is just the idea of, it's almost, and this is going to sound really strange. Part of the thing I like about the artificiality of art is there's this process in life to where you find your limitations through transcendence. Where you aim high, you hit the wall, and you say, that's who I am. And you never know how far the wall is unless you go as far as you can. And when you're wearing a literal mask, you can say things you can't say if you're just Joe Schmo up on the stage. I mean, you can go as far as you can. You can create the identity that you're longing to be. And it's not faking it till you make it. It's like self-actualization. And that is a thing I really like about the artificiality of art, is that sometimes you can be raised in a cage by society, and then be just put in a box that's so small that it literally lacks the nourishment your soul requires to even function. But then you turn yourself into a character, and you reach outward and upward, and you grow and you change, and you don't always be what you want to be. Sometimes it's heartbreaking when you find out you're not what you want to be. But that being said, there's a huge benefit. There's a huge benefit to knowing who you are through failure. Just reaching for the stars, going for it, hitting your head to the wall, and just literally just, making a fool of yourself. I feel like that's the problem with the modern world, is that because there's so much documentation of every failure, and it's almost like people are afraid to fail, but they don't know how empowering it is to not care. And it's because the 15 minutes of shame aesthetic of the modern culture is like, if you screw up, it'll go viral. The nunchuck out of the face thing, or like any of the screw up videos. Some kids like, oh, I'm gonna pitch this ball to my dad, and then, or something, and then like, hit it, and it hits them in the nuts. And it's like, it's stupid shit. Or the turtle kid, I like turtles. It's like, that kid was defined by that. That's his thing. Like, it's literally like, that's his whole thing, is he's the turtle kid. And it's weird to reduce a life to something that cartoonishly cliche, and to be put in a box so small. And the only way to escape from it is to literally, like, not care. Is not to be defined by the context you're being provided with. And I find that is the thing that I've tried the most to do with my art, I know some people have asked if the early stuff was intentionally amateurish, and I was like, no. It's just as simple as I had a complete and utter nervous breakdown after a sustained psychosis that lasted years. And I literally was just pushing myself to heal as much as I could. I did everything I could to really push myself. I recorded every day for almost 5 years. Then I bought Reasons software, and I used it for about 4 years to do the improvisational albums. And then I mined all that stuff that was really interesting failures to make the 4 rock albums of material I've made in the last 2 years. And I feel like, again, if I'd quit at any of those points, I never would have made the average, competent music I've been able to make. But that's a huge part of what I wanted to do. I just wanted to make music, and it was like, or art in general, really. And if I had not gone through a decade of failure and psychosis, I wouldn't have made the competent hard rock I made. And I find that that's the thing, is that you have to ask yourself, it's not a question of like if it's worth it, because we have no right to ask if it's worth it. I mean, life is what it is. It's going to be what it is when we're gone, and it'll be there when we go to the next part of it. I mean, it'll never change, and it's always different. It's something I cannot put into words, but it's like the thing I really, if I have one thing to say to emphasize today, is like, don't be afraid to fail. And it's not because failure doesn't hurt, it hurts really bad. It's not because there aren't trolls who'll laugh at you. It's because the only other option then is sniveling and giving up. And that is never the answer. You just have to live your life as best you can. And you have to do what you can do with the time that you have available. I've already gone way over my time limit that I tried to set for 10 minutes, so I'm going to wrap it up on that note. But peace and love. Take it easy.